First on BBC One.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the History CV of Britain. I'm your host Paul, and this evening we'll be discussing the Ark of the Covenant with one of my favourite guests, Marchell Abrahams. Now, first of all, apologies, I'm very tired this evening. Unfortunately, my cats woke me up at 5:30 this morning, little so-and-sos. So there'll probably be one or two mistakes along the way, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, once sang John Lennon. Let's have a quick look and see who we've got with us in the chat box. Hello again, David J. Good to see you, David. Hope you're well. Hugh Evans is in the house. Good evening, explorers. William Juby is also with us. Nice to see you, William. Okay, brilliant. More and more people turning up. That's great. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep my waffle fairly short this evening because, as I said, I'm tired and I really want to get into the subject matter for tonight with Marchell Abrahams. But before I do, a couple of videos just quickly to mention. The first one being Britain's Hidden History channel. Adam Griffith and Peter Chesborough released a video a few days ago called, let's get this right, St. George equals King Gwyrig. Okay, so according to some of the Welsh ancient sources, King Gwyrig has been identified as Arviragus, which is obviously very interesting. And it turns out that our actual St. George, our patron saint, never actually stepped foot in this country, according to my research, which seems very farcical, to say the least. So I think they've made a very good case for St. George to actually be Arviragus. So if you get a chance, please go over to the Britain's Hidden History channel and give it a watch. Hello, we've got Andrew Christie has joined us. Hello, Andrew. Hola. Hope you're well. Are you in Spain? If you are, you lucky rascal. Melissa Campbell. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you as always. Brilliant. Okay. Now, the other video that I'm going to mention is by a friend to this channel, Orgulug, aka Rich, who's made a 6-minute video called Were the Kings of Britain Related to the Holy Family? It's a very good video. Rich is a bit more skeptical than I am about this history, but he's made a great video showing lots of the ancient Welsh sources that seem to focus around Anna, this character called Anna, who was supposedly a cousin to the Virgin Mary. If you get a chance, go over to his channel, give him a like and a subscribe, because he's doing some really good work at the moment. Hello, Meg. How are you? Okay. Now, just before, take that comment off. Hold on. Andrew, sunny east coast of Scotland. Not quite the same as Spain. Oh, well, at least you've got some sunshine today, Andrew. Anyway, that's good to hear. Brilliant. Okay. Right. Just double check. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I have finished. I've put it somewhere. Where have I put it? There it is. I can see it. Bear with me one moment as I reach over. I finished this now. It was thoroughly enjoyable. A really good read. There are lots of sources. I'm not going to talk about it this evening because instead of doing that, I'm going to take a very deep dive into the sources provided in this book and probably make a documentary on it. That's the plan anyway. I'm very pushed for time at the moment with work and other things, but that's the plan. So hopefully in a few weeks, I'll have something to show you on that. Highly recommended. It's a great book if you're interested in the early Christianity in Britain. And I'll be moving on to R.W. Morgan's St. Paul in Britain this week, which I'm looking forward to reading. Dr. Stephen Pidgeon is with us next week. And I think that will probably be the last video in a while on this topic. We've covered it fairly extensively so far. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm still, sort of researching it a lot. But I think there's my doorbell every time this week. Unbelievable. So we'll be moving on from that subject after Dr. Stephen Pidgeon joins us next week. And we'll see where it leads us after that. So, okay, that's my waffle done. I'm going to bring on my guest now for this evening, who's going to share her research into the Ark of the Covenant from its very inception all the way through to the present day. It's my favourite archaeographer, Marchell Abrahams, is with us. Hello, Marchell.
Hello. Good evening. Here we are again.
Yes, lovely to see you. How are you?
Fine. Thank you very much. I don't have cats, but I was awake.
Yeah.
Solar streams or something.
Yes, a lot of people are talking about that at the moment, aren't they? It's very interesting.
It's having an effect, yes, I think,
yes.
on the nervous system and whatever.
Well, perhaps in the future we can have a discussion on that in more depth.
I'd like that. I've done some work on the associated sun words in several different languages, and what that yields is amazing. So yes, I'd love to do that. That would be great fun.
Yeah, and there's the talking of which, there's the very ancient symbol that Peter and Adam referred to in their video, the cross in the sun, is it?
Oh, the earth glyph, yes.
The earth glyph, that's right.
Yes. It's exactly the same as the cross of St. George, and also what they will call the Celtic crosses, the British crosses, the stone crosses of an Orion thing.
The Celtic cross.
Yeah, well, of course, these islands were never Celtic, but
you
know what I mean.
John Hart has marked me down already. Oh dear, never mind.
Well, it's a Victorian invention, and I think we're sort of slightly on a hiding to nothing. But I do try and say, actually, no, never were we Celtic in these islands ever. Always British.
Yes.
But you can't push a tanker to a halt with one hand, can you? We'll just have to wait for it to sink into the.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, it's kind of developed into this sort of blanket term that we use to describe our ancestors.
I know. Yes. Well, Morgan has a thing about that. He thinks that the Celts. He says that the Celts were a junior branch of the Cymry. And I think he's right, but I think they got left behind, like a lot of people on Albion's migration. They got left behind. Pockets of people are always going to stay behind. Oh, this is a lovely valley. Let's stay here. We don't want to go any further. And I think that's probably what happened. That's why all our languages are so joined, because they get mutated when you're in different places. It's like the Patagonian Welsh. People, their Welsh is very different from modern Welsh, but it's still recognizably Welsh.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, are you ready, Marchell?
As ever. I mean, as ready as I'll ever be. Yes.
Okay. Well, before we take a deep dive into the journey and the history of the Ark, what would you say were the best sources for researching the Ark of the Covenant?
Well, that depends on whether you wish to be mainstream or whether you wish to be alternative. Actually, for myself, I like a mixture of the two. So my own research is based on Wilson and Blackett, but I've done a lot of research with the conventional biblical reference works and have found that very, very handy. So don't disdain anything, be it conventional or or alternative, because there's an awful lot to be said for both.
Can you remember which particular book of Wilson and Blackett's refers to the Ark? Aha. Oh, there you go. Oh, you haven't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, but I'm at the front as well.
The discovery of the Ark.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll make a note.
Now, there's some problem, I believe, with this. When Ross was alive, he told us that there's some legal problem with a fellow in America.
Yes. Sorry, is this the same chap that has one or two artifacts, Arthurian artifacts?
I believe so, yes.
I know.
But anyway, I'm not sure whether this is available again.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a gold mine.
Okay. Yeah.
And as I say, my work in the Great Migrations is based firmly on their findings.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got some original research on the Ark as well. And as I say, I do not disdain to use the conventional biblical sources, even Wikipedia from time to time, because it does have its have its uses. Yes.
Talking of which, I don't want to digress too much, but I read a article on Rational Wiki, it's called, about the drama of the lost disciples.
Oh, it's a very good book. Yes,
it's a very good book, but unfortunately, the article was extremely scathing.
Oh yeah, it would be
of the book.
And yes,
basically said that he made it all up, which is crazy. But
which is absolute tosh. And by the way, I have to apologise profusely because I said he didn't cite any sources. Well, I managed to put a little comment up in the chat. I think I must have a much older edition than yours,
quite possibly,
because maybe it's been re-edited and the sources have been added, but mine didn't have sources.
Yeah,
I haven't got it to hand, I'm afraid. But so I'm very glad that there are sources, because it's a cracking good book and very useful.
Yes, I mean there's sources in my edition. There's sources on most pages. And it's given me a great deal of stuff to look into. And as I said before, I'll hopefully be making a short documentary on the sources and what they throw up. So that should be something to look forward to. You never know.
Indeed.
Okay, right. What is the Ark of the Covenant, Marchell?
Basically, it's a storage chest for the power of the Lord, the glory of the Lord, whatever that might be. Graham Hancock, in his book, was it The Sign and the Seal?
Yes.
Very good book. I read it ages ago and was gripped by it. I turned out not to agree necessarily with his findings for reasons which we can go into if you like. But the way he went into the nature of the power that was kept in the Ark. But I did a little bit of research, and I asked, is gold a good insulator for nuclear power? Which is a fairly, I know, facile way of looking at it, but I wasn't quite sure how else to put it. And apparently gold is not a good insulator for either radioactive or nuclear power, which is odd, because the Ark was lined with gold as well as being covered with it. Mm-hmm. And it was made of acacia wood, which is very, very hard and close-grained. Mm. What the combination of that and the gold would have with each other, chemically speaking, I don't know. Mm. But it could be that the power is not orthodox nuclear or orthodox radioactive. It's something else different, completely different, that we haven't yet put a name to, rather like that was 36 trillion volt blast of energy that put the image on the shroud, which 180 scientists have now to say is the real thing, the real deal.
Yes, Adrian Gilbert did a video about that recently. Mm. I love listening to Adrian when he talks about the Bible and Jesus.
He's so good, yes.
Yes, he's very good, very good.
Okay. For me, it's the words. So I go where the words lead me, and then I do the research when I get there. So I'm a grazer. They have led me into some amazing avenues, as we've seen, but I am not a scholar of biblical studies or anything like that.
No, me neither. I know far more about the New Testament than I do about the Old. unfortunately. So, yeah. Okay. Who built the ark?
Well, Moses under the instruction of God. And I've written down here, he had two lieutenants, as it were, a fellow called Bezalel, which very interestingly, hold on, let me apply some glasses so I see what I'm doing, whose name means in the shadow of God. And there was another man called Oholiab, Oholiab, which means father's tent. And if you consider that the Ark of the Lord and the tabernacle was sort of the structure that housed it, the whole lot went as a sort of package. Those two names are really very interesting. Whether the men were chosen because they had those names, or whether those were the names given them to commemorate what they did in building the Ark, I don't know. But I read on somewhere that some 8 tons of gold, silver, and bronze were taken by the Hebrews out of Egypt. They stripped Egypt, and the Egyptians were so pleased to see them go. And all that 8 tons of gold, silver, and bronze went into adorning the tabernacle and the ark.
Wow.
The ark weighed, several stone. I've written it down somewhere. And there was... I worked it out that it's the equal of, I mean, in many pictures you see a man at each corner and you think, how on earth could they have carried this weighty thing? But actually, it was weighed 5 stone. And that 5 stone 4 times, if you see what I mean. And that is about the weight of a British private soldier's backpack. So it's
pretty light. Yeah, it's pretty light.
Well, yes. That was jewishbible.org who told me that. And but the poles were only 15 feet long, and the ark itself was 4 feet long. So that's 11, that's 5 feet. You've got maybe 2 men to each corner, 3 at a pinch, I would say.
Yeah. And so the ark contained the 10 commandments.
It contained the second lot of tablets, which I like to think, because remember Moses got in a flap and broke. I wouldn't care to do that when God had given me a couple of tablets with his word written in tongues of flame, would you? Anyway, he did. So the second lot of tablets went in the ark, but there were other things in the ark, and this is from my own book, The Great Migrations. Hebrews 9:4 says that it had also the golden pot that had manna, which of course the Hebrews feasted on in the desert, and Aaron's rod that budded. This is a particular sort of leitmotif in English folklore, if you like, and it even turns up in a wonderful book called The Enchanted April by a woman who's just called Elizabeth, and one of the characters sticks her stick in the ground and it buds. So this seems to sort of weave its way through English, British, I should say, folklore. So that's the golden pot with manna, Aaron's rod that budded, Aaron being the brother of Moses, and the tables of the covenant. What was so special about the golden pot with manna, which sounds more like a sort of, what are those things that people bury, time capsules? It sounds as though the ark was being used a bit as a time capsule, because you've got Aaron's rod and the golden pot to remind people of the time in the desert, and the tables of the covenant. But because the ark seems to have had this astonishing, deadly power, there was something else residing in that box along with those other things. I like to think that the tables were inscribed with the first ever letters of Coilbren. Wouldn't that be nice to find of tongues of flame? Yes.
Okay, so Moses received those tables from Mount Sinai, didn't he?
Yes.
That's how the story goes. So where is Mount Sinai, would you say?
I haven't a clue. Nobody seems to have a clue. Its Arabic name is Jebel Musa, and I have got a new Bible atlas, and actually I can see it. Give me one moment.
Yes, sure. Okay.
New Bible atlas. Had this for about 30 years. It's frightfully useful. I could try and just, how are we doing for time? We're all right.
Oh, fine, yeah.
What are we looking for? Mount Sinai.
Yes.
Yes, just let me see. It might be on a map. The thing about Mount Sinai, I hope I've pronounced it properly, is that people don't know where it is. There are lots of I can't see it immediately. Oh, they've put it. Actually, I don't know if you can see that. Where are you?
Hold on a minute. Let me stop sharing for a moment, and now we can see that.
There, Mount Sinai, and they haven't got a question mark by it, so they might be quite certain that it's there.
Okay.
Sinai Peninsula, and Mount Sinai is towards the south of it.
Right.
That's in this atlas. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know.
I've got an alternative theory.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I'll just share on screen now a slide, and this I've taken some notes from an article written in Ancient Origins magazine, written by Ralph Ellis.
I know, yes.
And now all these pointers I've got here that you should be able to see. I'm just going to check. You can see that, yeah, you can. So all these pointers I've got here come from 4 different sources: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and Josephus Flavius.
Yes.
Mount Sinai, it is said, is sharp, is difficult to climb, sharply delineated from the surrounding plain, is small enough to be cordoned off, and yet is the tallest mountain in the land.
Good Lord.
Is on the edge of a desert, is surrounded by a black basalt pavement, contains a passageway into the mountain, and that the passageway should go steeply downwards, that a rope is required. And at the bottom of the passageway, there is a cave.
Oh.
What does that sound like to you, Marchell?
Caves under the pyramids?
Well, you're extremely close. Yes, the Great Pyramid.
Yes.
Yes, the Great Pyramid. So Ralph suggests that Mount Sinai is, in fact, the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Oh, I like it.
Yes, well, it would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? I mean, you're going to talk to God. God was supposed to reside in the Great Pyramid in the distant past. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Of course, there will be people that will disagree with that, but
well, I mean, let them. That's healthy, as long as they've got a basis for disagreement, rather than just knee-jerk. It's not true, which is a little tiresome. When you put that question to me for this evening's interview, I had to say I had no idea, but I went immediately to look at what the word means. And the word is absolutely electrifying because it's related to, I'll read from my own book again, if you don't mind. A year after the Hebrews leave Egypt, the ark is created under Moses at the foot of Mount Sinai, at the foot, mark you. This is explicitly connected by a very good outfit called Abarim Publications, which is a website that explains in detail biblical names, male names, female names, giants, dolphins, all sorts of things, locations. It's brilliant. And this Sinai, the name, is explicitly connected by Abarim with Sin, the moon god of Sumer or Shinar. It's also connected with the Sinites, who are a Canaanite people, and the Sinim, a people in the Far East, possibly the Chinese, because the name Shin, it's very close. And there's also the definition of Sin and Sinite as storage facility, which means that Mount Sinai also means storage facility, and the ark is explicitly designed to be a storage chest for really holy and important and obviously dangerous things. Can I go on, because 20 years after that, the ark ends up at a place called Kiriath Jearim. And again, according to Abarim publications, Kiriath Jearim actually means both, not either, but both, encounter at the thorn bush. And you'll remember the bush that burst into flames.
Yes.
But it also means storage city.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
we get this leitmotif of a storage capacity. I was going to say flux capacitor, like Back to the Future, but I'm not sure that's what I mean exactly. But you get this concept of a container for something really important all through this chronology that I've got. The other thing that's really interesting, and I can't find anywhere else that's got this right, apart from your nerdy, humble servant here, because I am a nerd. Under the reign of King David, the ark was taken to the house of Obed-Edom. And Obed-Edom is always assumed to be a man. And he, in inverted commas, is known as Obed-Edom the Gittite. But I dug a little bit deeper into that, and Gittite is actually the feminine appellation.
Oh, wow.
And the masculine is Gathite.
Right.
It actually says Gittite, so she's a woman.
Yes.
And her name means the servant of the Red One. Edom is red, and Obed means servant. So the servant of the Red One, are we talking about the same energy that we see on the cross of St. George? You know, the red cross. Damn it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Blame it on the cats. I haven't got any cats.
Blame it on the sun.
But red is the fundamental energy. It's very strong, very slow, very powerful. And some aspect of that, I think, was in that box in the ark.
Okay. Absolutely fascinating. So we have the ark as some sort of container, some sort of storage unit. Could we speculate possibly on what the ark was used for in ancient times?
Well, it seems to have been a kind of nuclear warhead. But you had to be really careful how you used it. And people who tried to get a hold of it suffered, because it was it afflicted you. If you weren't a Levite, who were the holy tribe appointed to look after the ark and indeed to carry it, and they were exempted from slavery in Egypt because of their closeness to the Lord. Levi. I haven't looked up what Levi means. I can do, but yes, it seems to be like a kind of really mammoth nuclear weapon.
Okay.
And that was the. I'm not basing that necessarily on Graham Hancock, although he came to the same decision. But even just reading the Bible and looking at the chronology of the ark and the number of, I mean, it flattened Jericho, for example. You know, you've got to be quite some power to flatten a city like Jericho.
The horns, wasn't it? The trumpets and the horns. Yeah, that's
it was taken round Jericho several times.
Yes. Well, that kind of ties in a little bit with Christopher Dunn's theory on the pyramid. If we switch to the pyramid for a moment,
yes,
he sees that as some sort of energy device. And Joseph P. Farrell goes one step further than that, and he's done a lot of work on the pyramids and written books on it. And he suggests that the Great Pyramid was actually a weapon, which I suppose aligns with the ark and what you're saying, which is
yes. Sitchin would agree with that.
Okay.
It was certainly a producer of energy, and if there have been plasma ejections from pyramids all over the world, recorded by Chinese instruments, and if that's correct, and why shouldn't it be? It would seem that these pyramids, which are, after all, they're a representation of the human body, pyramids, in a sense, because they have four sides, which we have, and they have capstones, which is our crown. Now, you and I have talked about crowns, or we all have a crown. The energy has to come out of the crown, and then it does a sort of Tauros thingy, and back it goes in and then up, and that's the same for Earth. And a pyramid what's the other word for pyramid? Tetrahedron.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a symbol of perfection. And if you look at a pyramid from above, you get the, you've got that, and that means, and I'll do it from your side. You've got the figure 4, and 4 is the symbol of perfection. If you're looking above, you can see the 4 diagonal lines and the baseline of the pyramid. And then if you do, say, north to west, north to west, and then north to south, rather, then north to west to east, you've got a figure 4.
Oh, yeah.
It's a symbol of perfection.
Oh, fascinating. That's amazing.
So just to go back to the idea of the pyramid being a weapon, yeah, I like it. I like it very much. After all, power depends on what you're using it for. You can direct power for good or for evil, can't you? You can light a city and heat people's houses and things, or you can take down an enemy with it.
Joseph B. Farrell has a website called Giza Death Star Revisited, I think it's called. And he's written a book under the same name, which I'm yet to read. I've got so many books to read at the moment, but I've listened to him talk about the theory, and it is very, very plausible in my opinion. So worth looking into, if you ask me. Okay, let's have a comment from David, who has said not just a description. That goes back to his previous comment on Ralph.
How the heck do you lose a mountain? Well, yeah, I quite agree with you. Yes,
exactly. Okay, right. So, according to the Orthodoxy, the Ark was lost to history after the destruction of the first temple in 587 BC. So, shall we do this in 2 halves? Shall we go back before the first temple was destroyed and trace its history from its very beginnings all the way through up until 587 BC, Marchell?
Yes. No. Wait a second. Who destroyed? Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
What have I done with all my notes? That's really interesting because Nebuchadnezzar, why did he destroy the temple? Was he looking for the ark?
Yeah.
I mean, what biblical king wouldn't have wanted a weapon like that on his side?
Exactly.
However, there is, and I've written here, there is no record of the Babylonians having found the ark. So we have to go a little bit further back to find the last mention of the ark at Solomon's temple.
If I could just add, according to some sources, Josiah, one of the final kings to reign in the first temple period, learned of the impending invasion of the Babylonians and hid it somewhere.
Yes. And I looked that up because I was trying to substantiate a theory of mine, and I thought, well, if that's the last mention, that's 100 years too late for me, or something. But actually, what that biblical mention is, it's in 2 Chronicles 35:3, and I will quickly find that and read it. It doesn't say that the ark was in the temple. And this was a very interesting thing, because what it says, verse 3, and said, this is the Lord, of course, and said unto the Levites that taught all Israel, which were holy unto the Lord, put the holy ark in the house which Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, did build. Now that says to me unequivocally that the ark was not in the house of, in the temple of Solomon at the time. So where was it? Was it an instruction to go and get it back from? Am I going too fast? Because
no,
it disappeared at about the time that that mention aside, it disappeared at about the same time that the Hebrews were kicked out of Assyria. And am I going on too fast here?
No. Carry on.
So always when an artifact or a person disappears from one set of records, you look in another set of records to see if you can find it. And it turns up on the Oscan tablet, which is one of Etruria's most famous artifacts. It's gold, actually very like the tables, because it's 2 gold leaves inscribed back and front with the story, as Wilson and Blackett put it. Where did I put my thingy? I could read that to you if you like.
Yes, please.
Reasonably organized tonight. The ark was, yes, it's here. It's in my own book, but it's taken from Wilson and Blackett, who don't have an index in the discovery of the Ark of the Covenant. But it says the text of the Anion tablet, that's the Oscan tablet, outlines the history of a people who have experienced 3 migrations. 2 of these were voluntary and 1 enforced. The longer text on the obverse side of the tablet describes the long journey of the people under a prince fleeing from a devastated, plague-ridden land. The people follow a little cabinet that rides in a cart. And this record, this is still Wilson and Blackett, this record is an unavoidable matching of the Hebrew exodus from Egypt under Moses, who was a prince of Egypt and of the Hebrews, in which the people followed the cart carrying the Ark of the Covenant. And then the text on the reverse records how the people are taken to a land where they are unhappy, and this matches the deportations of huge numbers of the 10 tribes of Israel. Now, the people then set off in search of a new homeland northwards towards Armenia. And again, they follow the little cabinet riding in its cart. They are led to the seashore where they build ships and they sail to their present lands in Etruria. That's all on the Oscan tablet.
Wow. Okay.
So that brings us to the really riveting topic of how many arks were there. I had a thought that some arks might have been the Ethiopian ark, for example, might have been built as a decoy, and with maybe a portion of the Lord's power called the glory of the Lord in it, and taken back to Ethiopia. And there are arks being found all over the place, and really? I don't think they're all the original.
Okay. So you're talking about the Church of St. Mary of Zion, aren't you? And the in Ethiopia.
Yes. Lalibela. It's such a long time since I read the book, Hancock's book, but I think it's Lalibela.
Yeah, the keepers, apparently they used to bring out the ark up until fairly recent times. I'm not sure what was meant by that in the article I read. But the keepers of the ark in Ethiopia apparently all suffer with radiation sickness. So they need some Lugol's iodine from Nutrient Nirvana.
They do, don't they? Well, that would
cataracts as well.
Yes. I mean, why should not a portion of the glory of the Lord have gone back with the Queen of Sheba? That's fascinating. I hadn't thought of that.
That's quite plausible.
But the original ark most definitely goes to Etruria, to Italy, in about 650, and the Hebrews leave from Smyrna. Oh, there is not a terribly good reproduction of the Oscan tablet. You can see it's on two sides, so it's like one tablet of the covenant, if you like.
Yes.
But they left from Smyrna after a dreadful famine. Half of them stayed behind and half of them left for Italy. And I think they took the thingy with it, the ark with them.
Yes.
And Smyrna actually means the port of remembrance.
Right. Okay. I'm starting to remember this now from your book. It's all coming back to me, and we're
coming back to me too.
we're moving into Brutus territory now, aren't we?
Yes, it
Yes.
explains why if the ark, and it might have been losing its power by now. Um, if gold isn't a very good insulator, I mean, I'm no chemist or physicist, I don't know. You'd need a quantum physicist to tell you that, I think. But if it was losing its power, and it's about 1350, that's a little later. I go again on Wilson and Blackett's chronology because they made such inroads into tidying up ancient chronologies. I'd rather go with them than anybody else. So that's 1350, and what have we got? We've got 600. So is that nine? My maths is that 900 years later?
Yes.
So it might have been losing its power by then. However, if it went to Italy, it will have remained under the control of the Etruscan kings.
Okay.
And then somehow it was removed from Italy, and I think I know how, because the last Etruscan king, Lars Porsena, gosh, I hope I've got that right, was Superbus. Oh, damnation, my memory. His nephew Brutus, as we know, deposed him. But before he was deposed, that king, Brutus's uncle, sequestered all Brutus's riches. And I think that in order to get them back, Brutus had to depose him and take his own riches back. And I think he took the ark at the same time, because the next we hear of him, he's in Epidaurus, and collecting bands of Trojans to himself. Now, the reason I think he took it with him, and that it didn't remain with the Hebrews left behind, who eventually crowded onto Lemnos, this little tiny island of Lemnos, where Brutus's fleet took them off eventually, is because because the Oscan tablet goes into the history of the Ark and the Hebrews in such depth. And this is all translated from the Etruscan using the Colburn alphabet by Wilson and Blackett, and it's perfect, makes perfect sense. But there isn't a single mention of the Ark on the Lemnos stone.
Right.
So that's what makes me think it was in Italy.
Okay.
And for it to end up back in England, Brutus will have had to take it with him, spirited away in the middle of the night, because there's some mystery about his disappearance, his death. The Romans, Etruscans, were quite capable of celebrating the death of somebody important without a body, and they did it at night. And I think Brutus took advantage of that to slip away after the Battle of Ars Silvia, or was it Silvia Arsa? Ars Silvia, I think. And he already had his uncle had already fled to Cerveteri, where I've been, taking his two sons with him. And that also gives the lie to Brutus's death, because one fable says that Brutus and his first cousin killed each other in battle, but that's nonsense, because both boys fled with their father to Cerveteri, and Brutus flees and takes the ark with him, and that's how he's able to raise the Aegean, to bring bands of Trojans after the collapse, the fall of Troy in 650.
It might also explain how he was able to communicate with Diana the goddess. I was just thinking.
Well, yeah, I've got my own views about that. I'm with the Colburn on that one, because he's a very clever man, Brutus, and he knew perfectly well that if he was going to say to his commanders, "You will do this," they're proud, independent Britons. They're not going to do anything that somebody tells them to do without very, very good reason. But if he gives them a religious reason to do something, then they'll do it. And that's exactly what the Colburn says.
Yeah.
And I think it's terribly clever.
Yes.
Laban, what was her name? The armourer's daughter she was. And she hid behind a stone in the temple and pretended to be the voice of the goddess. It's so clever and entirely in keeping with Brutus's character.
quite amusing as well, really. Excellent. Okay, so we're up to about 650 BC now, aren't we?
Oh, with Brutus, we're up to about 400, 500. He was only co-consul for a year, 509. And I estimated that his travels around the Aegean, raising armies and gaining a name for himself as commander of men and Bruce the warlike and everything, that took about 20, 25 years.
Right, okay.
He was not a young man. He was on his second marriage because he'd left his first wife behind.
So are we, sorry to interrupt, are we ruling out the recorded history, so-called, that the Ark was at the first temple around 587 BC?
There isn't any proof of that. The last mention of the Ark in the Bible is in Josiah's reign, which is at the same time that the Cymry parted company and one half went to Duda, Italy. And also we have to remember that Nebuchadnezzar, when he sacked Jerusalem and raised Solomon's temple, R-A-Z-E-D, there's absolutely no record in the Babylonian records of the Ark at all. So that tells me that it had already gone by then.
Well, Cormorant's Beaumont would have Nebuchadnezzar as a Brit, wouldn't he? So
really, I didn't remember that.
Yes, British, according to Cormorant's Beaumont. All those events happened in Britain, apparently.
Well, here's a really good. Can I just read this? I've just spotted a really good comment from Hugh. He thinks the Ark is a Meissner capacitor, so it will charge, discharge and recharge as described in the Bible.
Oh, wow.
What if, Hugh, I hope you can hear me, what if the people in charge of the Ark didn't know how to do that? Would it lose its charge altogether, I suppose? Wow.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
Can you speculate on that, please, Hugh, if you're still with us?
Yes, I do, please.
Actually, have a moment, take a breath for a moment, Marchell, and I'll just share one or two other comments.
Yes, of course.
While we're here, because we've had quite a few. By the way, while I remember, if you've got questions for either myself or Marchell, please put them in capital letters because it makes it so much easier for me to see them in the chat box. Meg has said, not a good first impression, January the 2000.
She was at St. Mary's Zion in Ethiopia.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes. Cool. Not a good impression. Oh, dear, what a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame, definitely. Okay.
Yes, naturally charges from Earth's magnetism.
Hugh is off to, he'll be visiting St. Catherine's next week. Is that the mountain you're talking about there, Hugh?
Oh, is that Carmel on the Mary and Michael line from Skellig Michael down to Ur? How interesting.
Yeah, it could be. Okay. I think you're just talking amongst yourselves there, so we'll move on. So now we're up to around 500 BC.
Yes.
Well, I kept up so far. I think I have, yeah. Brilliant.
And he doesn't come to Lemnos. He was going to St. Catherine, Sinai. He doesn't come to Lemnos himself, but the fleet picks up the remnant of the Hebrews who have crowded onto the island and carved the Lemnos stone to commemorate their having been there. And back it goes to Britain, and it lands at Torbay. And among the first, none of this is in the British records, alas, I wish to goodness it were. But I think the first thing he does is to cross from Torbay over to, oh gosh, what's it called? Where the Severn comes out. Where Dartmoor looks over to Wales, and he crosses that, and he takes it to Tuiniglo, and he buries it.
Just one moment, Marchell. I'm having a slight, potential disaster. My battery's about to die.
Hola.
Do excuse us. That was I should have checked it earlier. Just bear with me one moment,
Yes,
and I'll just rescue the stream on my faithful assistant will do that for me. Thank you very much for that.
Push it in properly, just make sure.
Yeah, and it looks like. Bear with me one moment. Live TV. I think. Let me just check. Plugged in. Thank God for that. Panic over. So
Well,
sorry. So sorry.
I looked at my telephone through which I power my internet. I was down to 4% by the time we'd finished gabbing. One week.
Okay. So yeah, panic over, brilliant. Okay, so I'm so sorry I lost you for the last 10 seconds, Marchell.
So he brings the ark, and I wish to goodness I could find a record of this. But he's known as when he gets to Britain, he's known as sovereign paramount.
Yes,
and a man who can quell a decade-long civil war has to have some mighty ability to do so, not just in his own nature and in his own dealings. He was about 65 by this time, still perfectly capable of fighting a decent battle. But if he had the ark with him, that would have enforced his power, because he quelled that civil war very quickly. And after that, he will have needed. Why he went to Wales with it, I do not know. And because the Ark of the Covenant, the discovery of the Ark of the Covenant doesn't have an index, it's impossible to find out unless one reads the whole book.
I'm just thinking Wales is a very impenetrable, mountainous region, isn't it? So perhaps that was why.
Well, yes, but Tuiniglo was only a couple of miles from where we stayed with when Ross was alive, and we went to visit it. And it wasn't all that impenetrable. I mean, you can just go up. It's the valleys, you know, and it's not like Mid Wales or North Wales. And here's Hugh saying there were several arcs. I agree, several arcs. But there must have been a reason. I'll try and look into that. But that's where it's said to have been buried. And you remember you mentioned the Larn stone.
Oh, the timing, Marchell.
No, that's it. Oh, that's it.
Wonderful.
We went there with Ross. Yes. Now that, if you stand in front of it, how the far end, that's it. It looks like a rabbit, but rather than a lion. But it's so worn down now.
Yes.
But if you stand at the right-hand side of it, on the photograph, not quite sure. Oh yes, this end, the front. End, it points directly to Tuiniglo.
It does, to that mount, that man-made mount on top of that hill.
Yes.
That's correct. It
that
couldn't be any more.
Has sumps in it, as Wilson and Blackett described, to keep it drained. Because here we are. Can your viewers see that?
Hold on one moment. I'll stop sharing screen. There we are. Yes, yeah, we can see the hill and the mount there. We can't really read what it says, unfortunately.
It's back to front, but basically they went all the way around the foot of the mound. They had a very decent farmer who, in those days, who let them go, and they found sumps around the bottom, and actually Ross pointed one out to us, which was visible from the road, and it was for drainage.
Wow. Okay, so according to your research and the research of Wilson and Blackett, it was Brutus who took the Ark to Wales.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Right.
It's the only way it could have got here from Etruria, where it is proved to have been by the evidence of the Oscan tablet.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. I really need to read some Wilson and Blackett.
I wish they had, even with Ross's hand on them, it's still quite difficult read because, as I say, it hasn't got an index. It hasn't really been broken up into subsections properly. But for all that, yeah, it's riveting. I mean, if you can find a copy of this, you'll be a very happy man.
No, I know. Yeah, amazing. Okay, let's take a few comments before we start winding things up a little bit. So Melissa Campbell, hello Melissa. She said, I recently finished the Hancock book on the Ark and he concluded that probably the ark was in Ethiopia. What
Mm.
do you think about that possibility, apart from the decoy idea?
Well, if you think about it, Ethiopia, apart from a very profoundly Christian country from a very early stage,
Yes.
and if it had a holy part of the ark's holy power in it, that would probably explain why.
Yes, definitely.
Now, I don't know if I'm right, if I'm on the right track here, but the other name for Ethiopia is Abyssinia.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in Abyssinia, you have the word abyss. Now, my etymology might be out here. I don't know, but it's worth investigating. And the concept of the holy abyss or ravine, the V, and the holy Alp, which is at the source of Albine's name, the mountain. And if you look at it, if you think of it, it's the heartbeats, isn't it? If you look at a screen, a monitor in a hospital, it makes that sort of thing, shape. And why else did Ethiopian Christians bury their churches the way they did? Or rather, that's the wrong way to look at it. They dug their churches out of the rock face, not vertically, but flat, horizontally. So you've got, from a distance, you can't really see that there's anything there. There's no building. And then you walk up to the edge. I never have, but I'd love to go. And you look and you see this amazing equal-armed cross. And it's the church, the one, I think it's Lalibela that I'm thinking of. This isn't the one where the ark is. This is another one, but it's the equal-armed cross. And it's quite literally cut down into the ground and out of it, so that you have to descend down to get to the church.
Wow!
And that, to me, is the abyss.
Okay, that's fascinating. I'm probably being a silly sausage here, but Abyssinia, Sinai, Mount Sinai. Could there be another connection there potentially?
I don't think so. It's a difference. Abyssin. I could quickly look. I've got Etym online here. They might tell me the. Oh, go away. Love the app. Not just at the moment, thank you. Abyssinia. It's said to be, and I don't think I believe this because of the N, which is a very strong consonant and doesn't tend to get lost over time. It's from the Arabic Habaza, the name for the region, said to be from the Amharic for mixed or mixture, in reference to the different races dwelling there. I don't believe that.
Okay, fair enough. Just thought I'd mention it. Right, okay. We've had a message from Meg who says, doesn't it give instruction in the Bible on how to build an ark?
Yes, it does. Very, very detailed instructions as well. And there are some excellent websites which tell you how much they take that information. They tell you how much it weighs and all that sort of thing, which is what I was consulting this morning.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I think that's a good place to end it. So thank you so much, Marchell. As always, you've given me so much to chew on with all that. So lots of things to look into.
Thank you for obliging me to refresh my memory about that, because what I've learned will, although I'm quite, as I said earlier, I'm quite pleased with the research I did. It was a long time ago, and I see that section could be tightened up a bit in the light of this. So thank you very much for that. It saved some work.
It's been really, really good. Okay, how's the...
Before we go, Andrew Christie says, Abbot in Egyptian is presented as a manted glyph. What is a manted glyph?
A manted glyph? I don't know. I'll look it up quickly, shall I?
Yeah.
Manted glyph.
And Alan Wilson was able to arrange for a ground-penetrating radar device to be used on the mound in Inisibul. Gosh. And then there was that amazing Google anomaly, wasn't there, where it didn't show. They've probably corrected it now, but they didn't show any earth that was man-made, if you like Silbury Hill.
Yes.
It just showed ground level. It didn't show anything man-made.
Okay, so AI informs us that a mantid glyph in the context of archaeology and art refers to a symbolic representation or carving of a praying mantis, often found in ancient rock art or other cultural artifacts.
Oh yes, I've seen. There's a wee thing of it. Is that praying to indicate how holy Abyssinia was? I wonder.
Yeah. Okay.
Gosh, that's a whole other rabbit hole for us to vanish down.
Go away. There's a picture there for you to have a look at.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Andrew's a very clever chap.
Yes.
He knows lots of stuff.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrew. Brilliant. Okay, let's stop sharing screen. Okay, how's the Phoenix going, Marchell?
It's going. I'm getting on with it. It comes in lumps. It's got to the collating and tidying up stage now.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it should be with us this year at some point.
I can't say, I'm afraid. And a lot depends on money as well, because it costs a heck of a lot to print books. I'm investigating printing on demand, but it seems to be even more expensive than doing it the old-fashioned way. Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't realise.
Lulu, but I can't understand their website because they talk in such strange American things. I'm not awfully clever at that sort of thing. Well, just leave me with the words and I'm fine. But anything technical, and I just in a weeping heap in the corner.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I think we'll end it there. So thanks everyone for joining us and for giving us your comments. I'll be back next week with Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, and that will probably be, be the last episode we do for a while on early Christianity in Britain. I'm still thoroughly enjoying the subject, but I don't want to bore anyone, so we'll probably move on after that. So yeah, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thank you, Marchell.
My great pleasure. Thank you for asking me.